regardless of what, you cannot deny that those ending panels always have some sort of epicness when Zoro gives that one-liner at the end of the chapter. No matter how many times Oda does it, whenever you see that fucking serious face of Zoro and he gives that one-liner to end the chapter, you're always thinking like, damn Zoro, you're such a badass. Let's go. So this chapter of One Piece, not the greatest chapter. It hasn't, like, you know, we've been having amazing chapters of One Piece up until this point, but this is kind of that syndrome. Whenever Oda has those 2-week breaks and he comes back, it's kind of like back to slow town, and unfortunately it's looking as though Bellamy's, like, you know, second win, I'm gonna fuck you up, Luffy, from last week's chapter, did seem as though it's gonna be for some stalling purposes, because he's like boinging around the beginning of this chapter, and surprisingly enough, he was able to land a blow on Luffy, which, I guess, I mean, that's kind of keeping up his pride. And I want to say one thing, because people have been going rampant saying that Bellamy is possibly going to be the next Straw Hat. And oh my gosh, I really hope that's not the case. Regardless of what, I honestly, being completely honest with you, I'd rather Oda have brought him back for absolutely nothing. I'm not saying that he's done nothing up until this point, because I guess to a weird way, it kind of connects back to how ruthless Doflamingo is, but that's besides the point. I honestly would rather him have come back for absolutely nothing and die than ultimately join the Straw Hats. Honestly, no, I don't want Bellamy. No, I would rather Rebecca join the Straw Hats. At least we have a, you know, a nice looking chick in there or something. Even though she's a scaredy cat and kind of became disappointing, I would rather Rebecca over Bellamy. Please don't let that be the case, and that's why they're even showcasing that he got a hit with ornament hockey on Luffy, which mainly he got that hit because Luffy's like in shock and he doesn't want to hit him because he knows one blow and he'll knock this motherfucker the fuck out. So let's be real here. It wasn't that he actually got that hit, but please don't let that rumor be true, and that, you know, no. And then a lot of Zoro in this chapter. The Zoro versus Pica fight is still going on. That fight, in my opinion, should have ended a long time ago. The pacing for this arc has definitely been slow. When you think about that, they're still fighting, and you go and watch the anime, and they just, like, they're fighting in the anime, and they're fighting in the manga still, and this is not like a big fight. Like, this is Pica, it's one of the executives of the Don Quixote, but we haven't even seen much of this fight. It's kind of like, when you think about it, I would rather have Sabo and Fujitora still fighting and actually see the fight than this fight still go on, because Pica is like, he doesn't really feel that threatful. It's like he's a stone statue guy that Zoro just keeps on throwing out these epic lines and cutting him up. So yeah, the fact that this fight is still kind of going on is kind of like, yeah, I don't mind long fights, except when it's just like, I don't know, Pica just comes across as a crusty to me, especially when you got the badass Zoro that he's not even breaking a sweat. It's not like Zoro's struggling against this motherfucker. Zoro just keeps chopping him up. And then you have Orlumbus showing up, so Oda, once again, this kind of feels like when Oda goes back into, I'm planning right now, I need a plan for the future, so let me throw in, you know, some of these characters from the Coliseum for right now, let them do something, and Orlumbus just kind of coming in and, you know, getting rid of some of the fodder or whatever. And a lot of this chapter felt like a lot of fodder. There was some progression, and I'll get to that in a second, but yeah, the Orlumbus stuff and some of the other, you know, side characters fighting, it was mainly, once again, some of that stuff. Although I ain't gonna lie, I wish I was Sai, because if I was Sai, I would not be like, huh? When Baby Five was like, oh yeah, like, you tricked her. You have it. Go for the fucking goal, bro. I ain't gonna lie, like, I still have a little flame for Baby Five. I'm just saying. And then you have a little more of that giant, another one of the people from the Coliseum, Hadrudin, and I totally didn't just wiki that. That basically he got KO'd by Machvise, but then he also helped out Zoro, so it's kind of another case of the Coliseum people helping out the Straw Hats, like a bunch of chapters ago, how they were all helping out Luffy, now they're all helping out Zoro as well. And then eventually he launches Machvise, which I'm not sure if Machvise actually hit Birdcage or not, because you see him being launched up to there, and then they were like, oh, you know, you're gonna get shredded if you hit it. We couldn't tell if he fell back down before he actually hit the cage or not, or that was a cliffhanger, like, Machvise is about to hit it. To be honest with you, fuck Machvise. I hope he hits Birdcage and gets fucking annihilated. Like, some of these fights need to end already. A lot of this has been going on, and I think majority of us can say, we have Luffy and Law versus Doflamingo right now. We much rather see that than see Machvise's fat ass getting fucking launched into Birdcage by whatever the fuck that giant's name is. Although the One Piece fanboy in me was kind of a little happy when I heard Elbaf. I was like, oh, he mentioned Elbaf. And then, of course, the epic one-liner at the end from Zoro basically saying, you know, this birdcage will be gone when you wake up, Machvise. Even though I think he was actually talking to the giant, and that might have been a mistranslation, unless I'm mistaken. But, yeah, why would he say Vice-sama? If anything, I thought he was talking to the giant. And in all honesty, this chapter of One Piece, again, not the greatest. We've had some really amazing chapters of One Piece, and this one kind of just felt like a little stall away, kind of getting a little bit more. The best thing we got was progression that seemingly Machvise is out the game, which is good. At least one of the executives is gone, because, I mean, come on, all these fights can't keep going. They have to end. I really want, within the next 3 chapters, 4 chapters, for Zoro to finish off Pica, because that fight's been going on way too long. So with all that being said, probably a 6 to a 6.5 for this chapter. It was fine. Again, we've had a streak of amazingness, so this chapter in comparison looks like but we did get to see a little bit more of some of the other people, what they're doing, and especially Zoro kind of getting rid of Machvise with that giant, so it's not a complete like, oh, nothing happened. At least Machvise is out the game. So yeah, fine, but let me know what you thought of this chapter. What do you think about Bellamy getting that hit on Luffy? Again, it's more than likely, I mean, it's clear as day that Luffy is just not trying to hit him, but what do you think about this whole thing that people are going crazy like Bellamy might be the next Straw Hat? How valid do you think that's a possibility? Like, I really don't want that motherfucker to be on our crew. I say our crew because, again, you know, the One Piece fanboy, you know. And what do you think overall of this chapter? Not too much in this chapter going on. Again, it was kind of like a lot of the Coliseum people getting a little bit more shine. But that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you can do so as well, that'd be awesome. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.